This is my first drink because making YouTube videos makes me feel nervous. Welcome to my YouTube channel. For anyone who knows me, knows that I love film and had a rather ambitious goal to see 52 movies this year. I am not anywhere near achieving that or on track. So I thought to myself, what's an easy way to keep myself honest and to also use my skills of film analysing to, I don't know, make people want to go see more films. That was my goal. So I thought I would make a YouTube channel where I review films that I've seen and put that out into the public, and maybe people hate it, maybe people will love it. I don't know. Please hold. I will continue to drink while I make this. So, as this is my first YouTube video, I am filming this on my MacBook and with the lighting of my apartment. And if film and television have taught us anything over the past 12 months, it's that bad lighting creates suspense. Thank you, Game of Thrones. That filming things on a MacBook is the way of the future. Thank you, searching. And the good things come to those who wait. Thank you, Avengers Endgame. So I'm going to rate these movies on 5 different categories. And they're going to be acting, writing, and also story, directing, entertainment, and a different 5th category depending on what the film is. For X-Men, I have decided to go based on what my expectations were and whether or not the film delivered on those expectations. So I'm going to start with acting. Now, my favourite part about this film was that going in, I expected Sophie Turner to be the absolute pits. And lo and behold, she actually wasn't too bad. She wasn't the Jean Grey that Famke Janssen was, but she was okay, I guess. I think the writing held her back. I think she definitely had more to offer than what she did in the film, and I think that was limited to the fact that she wasn't given a whole lot of really interesting stuff to do in the film. And she definitely could have been given a lot more interesting stuff. I think that the story as it was did definitely put her in a position where she had to deliver a lot of monotonous performance and also a lot of expositional dialogue, which, I mean, is never great in a superhero film because it's, we have to suspend disbelief enough as it is. On the other hand, James McAvoy is an actor who would never get held down by anything of that nature, so he was exceptional throughout the entire film. He didn't get held back by expositional dialogue. He kind of delivered in every aspect, which he has across all 4 of these mainline X-Men films since First Class. And I think that he has definitely proven, not just in this film, but in M. Night Shyamalan's films, that he is capable of delivering sort of anything that, is thrown at him. And he definitely gives probably his, maybe not his best turn as Xavier in this film, but he definitely is very realistic and honest in his portrayal. And there's one scene in specific that he shares with Nicholas Hoult in the film that is probably my favourite scene of the entire film, where they both deliver very honest moments in a film where, there was a lot of not honest moments. Michael Fassbender was also great. I did expect him to be probably in more of the film, considering that he was one of the main characters of First Class and Days of Future Past and also Apocalypse. He's in a large half of the film, but for the first sort of 45 minutes, he's not in it at all. And I think that kind of reduces his ability to deliver a strong performance. Jennifer Lawrence. I think she's very disinterested. I think that she's checked out. I think that in this film specifically, and I mean, I had the same critiques of her performance in Apocalypse, she doesn't care about these films anymore. She's doing them because she has a contract, and I think she's doing them because they probably pay her pretty well. The name value of Jennifer Lawrence is still quite high. So I think that definitely drives people to see a film that they might not have seen, but I think the X-Men label does that enough for these films. So I don't think anyone's going to see these films for Jennifer Lawrence anymore. They might have been in First Class and Days of Future Past, but I think nowadays it's not about Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence isn't the reason to go see these films. She delivered a great performance in First Class, but I feel like, especially in the last 3 films, that's dissipated a lot. And I think that especially in this film, when she is given weighty dialogue to deliver, she's not great. There's no emotion, there's no passion behind it. And I definitely think she was ready to be done after this film, and luckily, due to the Fox and Disney merger, I think that's going to allow her the opportunity to get out of these films. I don't know whether her contract's up or what the case might be, but I imagine when Fox and Disney have done this merger, that it has put them in a position where they can renegotiate. The biggest bugbear I have with this film is the treatment of Jessica Chastain. I think she's one of the best actresses of our generation, and I think that she could deliver any villain, any hero, anything that they need. And not to give too many spoilers, but she plays a monotonous character who is not in a whole lot of the film, and who doesn't get to do a whole lot. So I think that definitely puts her in a position to be not the Jessica Chastain that I know, or that I've seen in Molly's Game, Zero Dark 30, any of those incredible films that she's been in. It's not the same Jessica Chastain. It's a boring Jessica Chastain. It's a Jessica Chastain who's given dialogue that is useless and not important and expositional, and just, not a great way to use Jessica Chastain. Makes me very excited for It Chapter 2 because she's going to get maybe more of an opportunity to do cool stuff. So I can't wait for that. As far as other parts of the ensemble, Alexandra Shipp is a great actress. I think she's a great up-and-coming performer in the industry, but I definitely think that she was given not a lot to do, and I also hate her accent in these films. I think I don't know where she's meant to be from, but it doesn't seem to be anywhere that I've ever heard someone from before. Ty Sheridan, he was fine. I don't think that he was given a whole lot to do either, but he was fine in the moments that he was. And then Evan Peters is a fantastic actor, but was given about 3 minutes worth of scene, so that was disappointing. I think he could have been amazing, and there was nothing in this film to allow him to do that. There was also no Quicksilver speed montage thing that was awesome in the first 3 films, so the first 2 films, whatever it was. That was definitely lacking. Hopefully, there's no more Quicksilver anymore, I guess, after this Fox and Disney merger, because the Quicksilver in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not alive anymore, so that's going to cause some issues, I imagine. So we'll have to see what happens there, but Evan Peters has a great career ahead of him. It just wasn't in this film. No matter how much I push my hair out of my face, it keeps falling down. From a writing and story perspective, it was a mess. The writing was just absolutely tragic at some points. There were certain one-liners that characters got to deliver that were wildly socially inept, that didn't feel like they were trying to act like. I think the movie was very politically correct and very in tune with what's happening in a political spectrum at the moment, and it just didn't land. There were at least 2 or 3 different moments in the film where I looked at it and I kind of just cringed at how those moments were written. The film was very expositional. Not only was it expositional, it was also predictable. So it was explaining things that the audience knew about or was expecting to happen. So I thought that was kind of not ideal for a finale, which then comes into the fact that the film was very low stakes. I think that there were no plot twists, nothing that none of us expected. The trailers gave everything away. We all knew what was happening. We all knew how these films were going to end. So I think when we were watching it, it just was empty. I felt like the performances brought the film up at points. As I mentioned earlier, Nicholas Holt's scene with James McAvoy early, sort of midway through the film, is sort of the moment where the film peaks. But beyond that, the film kind of gets stuck in explaining itself, and the third act is an absolute nightmare. It is clunky, it's messy, it's overfilled. There's faces that you don't see prior in the film that you only see in that third act that are just there for body count. And if you need to do that in your film, then you're clearly doing the wrong thing. And so I think that was hard to watch, and hard to listen to. And as a big fan of X-Men prior to probably Apocalypse, it was definitely a come to earth moment, I suppose, where I realized that these films that I've loved since I was very young are not quite the films that I used to think they were. From a direction perspective, it is quite literally one of the worst films I've ever seen. Um, it was very messy. It felt like the director had never filmed a film before. And I haven't done my research, but that could be the case. At the very least, they've never worked with a big budget. A lot of the scenes felt hard to watch. They were either too bright or too dark, and it made it really difficult to know what was happening. Especially in the first act, there was a lot of bright colours and lens flare that made it feel like it was trying to be this big bombastic moment that fell over a little bit. Again, as I started the video, meh. Pretty much the whole way through, there was a lot happening, but also not a whole lot happening, and that was hard to sort of understand as an audience. But also, like I said earlier, it's so obvious what's going on in this film that you're fed too much too quickly, and I think the directing also comes down to some of the choices made by some of the actors as well. Again, Jessica Chastain, the monotonous way that her character was portrayed, I definitely think comes down to the directing more than the acting. There are moments where Chastain brings out massive acting chops, but it's for like 20 seconds, and then she kind of falls back down to that monotonous state. And I do think that was sort of brought on by the director. From an entertainment perspective, it was good enough, I guess. I was never bored as such. I was definitely annoyed at some points, but there was a little bit of fan service. There was some cool moments. Some of the action scenes were quite fun to watch. Getting to see Storm use all of her lightning and stuff like that, after not getting to see her do so much of that in Apocalypse, was nice. It had a very quick runtime. In 2019, we're used to a comic book film that runs at about 180 minutes. So it's nice to have something that's at 114 minutes. Not to shit on Endgame at all. That was probably one of the best films anyone's ever seen. But it was still nice to have a film that ran for 66 minutes less. Now, with that being said, the film definitely runs a little long. For a film that runs for 114 minutes, there's definitely a lot of fat on the film that I think could have been trimmed down. I think that there are moments that feel like the scene runs for an extra 3 minutes beyond what it probably should have. And then there are also other parts of the films that feel underserved. The Dark Phoenix storyline, to a lot of comic book readers, is one of their favourite stories, and I think that when you bring that down into a film, you obviously need to break it down and bring it to a lot more of a personal level, and I think that they did just a bad job of it. To say that X-Men 3 Last Stand did a better job of it sounds horrible, but it really did. It built up the character of the Phoenix so much better, and it just had a more personal feel to it, whereas this one felt somehow very low stakes, but also very impersonal. And that 114-minute runtime probably could have been used better. Some scenes probably didn't even need to be in the film. The beginning, the intro, the first 15 minutes ran a little bit long. I don't think we needed any of it. A lot of the moments in the film, from a fan service perspective, felt under-earned. We got a lot of fan service in Avengers Endgame. And the reason for that is because we've watched 22 films to get there, whereas this one, and 22 good films for the most part, whereas here we've got 8 or 9, or maybe not even, maybe 6 films in this period that are feeding into the main story, and I just felt like we haven't earned some of the stories that we've seen in this film so far. Finally, expectation delivery. Fox had done a very good job marketing this film if they were marketing a film that wasn't going to be incredible. I didn't have high expectations. I had very low expectations, and it probably met them. Um, the fact that Sophie Turner, sorry, was so much better than what I expected probably helped the film quite a bit. I was very impressed by her in certain moments. Wasn't a revelation or anything. Wasn't a Oscar-winning, Oscar-worthy performance by any means, but it was definitely better than I expected. Her American accent kind of kept a lot more than it did in Apocalypse, so that helped. So I definitely think that from an expectation perspective, it met my expectations. So I think that I wouldn't say I was impressed by the film in any means, but I definitely didn't leave disappointed. I had hoped. I saw a trailer last week when I was watching Brightburn, and the trailer seemed like it was delivering a much better film than the previous trailers and the previous advertising had. So that was making me excited. But the final product was average at best. Based on that, to summarize, I think that if you like the X-Men films, mostly if you enjoyed Apocalypse, this film is probably something that you will also enjoy, I guess. The acting was, on average, okay. The writing and the story was predictable and not very good. Same could be said for the direction. I definitely feel like it was amateur. It was messy. It was clunky. It was all over the place. It was hard to watch. And from an entertainment perspective, I had an okay time. I never felt like I wanted to leave the cinema, which I very rarely feel, so that's good for it, I guess. And I definitely felt like my time was worth it and the movie ticket was worth it. If anything, just because it was the finale of a film series that I have enjoyed watching for the past couple of years. So if I had to rate it out of 10, maybe like a 4, maybe a 5. If I'm feeling generous, maybe a 5. I definitely think that anything that James McAvoy is in gets a boost because of him, so that helped. But yeah, it was okay. I would definitely recommend watching it if you've got a free 2 hours and however much money movies cost. And I think you'd have a good time watching it, and I definitely think you'll be surprised by certain moments, mostly by Sophie's performance, and I will harp on that because it was much better than I expected. Now, I do plan on making videos every time I go see a movie, and I think my next big film that I go see will be Spider-Man, and then The Lion King. Very excited for those two. It Chapter 2 will be coming out very soon. I would like to go see Ma, Booksmart. There's a number of films that I do want to go see, and I need to go see 52 this year, hence the purpose of making this video and this channel and doing this. And I don't know, I get to talk out loud about the films, and whenever someone asks me what I feel about a certain film that I went to see, I can just link them to the video, so that makes my life a little bit easier. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked watching, subscribe, I guess. If you liked watching, also like it. That's good too. And yeah, thanks.